Good afternoon and welcome to the Public Circle Live. I'm back home in our office studio here in beautiful Sidney by the Sea. My name is Adam Olsen. I'm the MLA for Saanich North and the Islands. I would say I'm a little bit biased, but I do believe that this is the best riding in all of British Columbia, and that would be Saanich North and the Islands. The Public Circle Live is our weekly broadcast where we talk about the week in BC politics. A lot went on this week in BC politics, as always. That's correct. This is Aldous Sperl. I'll get to introducing him in just a second. The Public Circle is our outreach arm of our work here in the constituency office. When I got elected almost a year ago, I said I wanted to have the best, most responsive, most accountable, most transparent constituency office in the entire province. And Aldous is delivering that. We're delivering that together. And the Public Circle is a live broadcast on Facebook to give you an opportunity to connect with us. It's good to see my cousin Lawrence Bartleman watching. Hello, Lawrence. So, today is April the 27th, 2018. It's unbelievable, all this. We've done 11 straight episodes of the Public Circle Live. When we first started, you said I'd never do it, never followed through. If I could do 6, I'd get lights. We got lights. I'm going to try to get a microphone next. I'm just going to keep leveraging this. And this week I am, as he jumps off camera here, I am joined by Aldous Sperl. Aldous Sperl is my chief of staff, integral part of the team here in delivering an amazing program out of our constituency office in beautiful Sidney by the Sea. Also, you might see Laura Parker jump in and out of the comments. Please do leave us comments. Laura is another invaluable member of our team, and she'll be responding to some of your comments. If you're looking for some more information, maybe I've got a blog post that I've written, she can drop the link in. She's helping us out. You'll know it's her because she's going to she's going to put a little LP behind everything that she's doing, all the comments that she's making. Today we're going to be talking about the resource industries in our province and the emerging economy. I said some things this week which some people felt were a little bit controversial, only if you wanted to twist my words, which they did. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, please engage this video. Please share it with your friends. Drop some names of your friends that you know live in the riding in it. We want to grow this community. We're going to continue to do this week in, week out, because we believe in public engagement. Hit the like button a few times. There we go. Thank you. Show us some love, a little bit of the heart. And because this is BC politics, I do expect to see a little bit of frustration, maybe some anger, depending on what we say. So, if you want to connect with our office, you can. adam.olsen.mla@ledge.bc.ca is the email. The phone number is 250-655-5600. You can find that information in the description below, along with a list of all of our social media, the website, adamolsen.ca, a lot of videos, a lot of new videos that we've posted, a lot of work on salmon. We get to that maybe a little bit later. Now we get to the meat of the show where we have a conversation, because so far all this has been quiet. He's been looking great.
Well, you know.
He's been looking great. No question about it. But
let's get down to it then.
Let's get down to it.
Yeah. So
what are we talking about?
We're talking about some comments that you made. Some comments that you and Andrew Weaver have been accused of.
It was me, actually.
Well, okay, fair enough. That about BC being a resource colony.
Yeah.
And we said that earlier this week, and then Resource Works, which we, I'm a huge not fan of, came after and said that you were against resource communities across the province. So maybe we can talk about that.
Right. So I want to show you something, and it's my stinky sock.
Oh God.
That was good. So this is, everybody in BC will know what this is, right? This is the Bay. That's the Bay. That's the Hudson's Bay. There was a time in this province when the Hudson's Bay Company and the fur trade, the strip it and ship it mentality, where we were just basically a resource colony for the Crown, where we took our raw natural resources and we sent them off to the benefit of far away yonder economies, yonder markets.
We did.
That was the beginning of what we know as British Columbia, the last colony of the United Kingdom. And so when I was talking about a resource colony, I was not talking about the fact that I have some sort of dislike for the resource communities in the province. In fact, Andrew and I spent the entire week talking about and defending the very important rural and coastal economies in our province that were founded on refining natural resources and sending raw materials to refining capacity that we have in our province. Those communities that were built on sawmills, that were built on canneries, that were built on pulp and paper, that added value to the raw materials that we are extracting, that we're so blessed with in this province. So when ResourceWorks comes out with a fundraising email, and you know you've made it, when ResourceWorks is trying to fundraise twisting something you said, and I've responded to it. Laura will drop in the link, my latest blog post, because I responded to their crass attempt to twist my words by saying I mutilate the truth, in essence mutilating it themselves. Thank you, ResourceWorks, for allowing me to explain the fact that I stand up for resource communities. And Andrew and I did that, where we said, look, we need to take our raw material. We need to stop shipping raw bitumen. We need to stop shipping raw logs. And we need to start adding value to them in our province to create good family-paying jobs in this province like we once had.
Now, let me just cut you off there, because
I feel kind of like Don Cherry.
Right? We used to do this.
Yes.
And we used to give a lot of value add. We had sawmills across BC, of course. We've had canneries in operation. We've had
entire
communities based upon value-added products.
Yes.
Over the last 2 decades, what's happened?
Gutted. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we've turned over a lot of the responsibility for our raw materials to corporate interests, many of them from outside Canada, foreign multinationals. The question that I had on Monday was about a $50 million worth of ground fish quota sold to Chinese interest. They're fishing it. They're taking that ground fish. They're sending it out of our country. It's not being processed in our country. So between the Hudson's Bay Company and the last 20 years, basically the BC Liberals, although maybe the BC NDP in the 90s started this as well. What we've seen is the value-added part of our economy go by the wayside. We are now just reverting back to a resource colony. Yes, there are jobs being created by the extractors, but the jobs that they created in their extraction for the refiners, for those that added value, that manufactured made in British Columbia products, those are the ones that Andrew and I in particular this week started to stand up for. And those were the comments where ResourceWorks thought they could make some money off of twisting my words.
So there's a few comments I just want to approach. Kathy had a good question there.
Yeah.
She asked, how can we get the value added back? And I know Andrew has talked a lot about race to the bottom economics and how we're always trying to attract the lowest bidder to just take our resources as quick as they can out of the ground and get them out. What do you think we can do to make sure that we do add value, that British Columbians are benefiting from the resources that we have?
Well, I mean, let's talk about one that is pretty clear right now. A lot of news made this week about what the BC government did with respect to diluted bitumen, the rawest of, other than adding diluent to bitumen, you couldn't get any rawer than that, sending it to Asia sending it to another market, wherever, to be processed. We have processing capacity in our province. We could have increased processing capacity in Alberta. We could build increased processing and refining capacity for use as we transition away from fossil fuels for use in British Columbia. But we've got a federal government, a prime minister, that thinks it's good for the economy to ship raw materials. We've got a premier in Alberta that thinks it's good for her economy to ship raw, rather than asking the companies that are getting the value, extracting the value out of the ground in Alberta to invest in more refining capacity. So that's just a prime example. We got raw logs. We got mills, pulp and paper. I was in a meeting with pulp and paper, and they want fiber. You know what's happening to the fiber that they want? It's being burnt in piles. It's called slash pile burning. Because we're too, I don't know, lazy to come up with policy that says, no, you can't burn that. Seriously.
Although I will point out that we did introduce something earlier this year where that slash pile burnings are now subject to the carbon tax. They weren't before. So that's increasing the potential that they might be used for other things because now we're starting to cost them appropriately.
It's not, I don't know that it's done yet.
Well, fair enough.
I would just, like, look, we've got pulp and paper mills that need fiber.
Now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Give them fiber. We could have a pellet plant. Better than just burning it in an unregulated way in the forest, like in the clear cut that you just created, because it's so-called too expensive to transport it out. We could have a pelletizer, and you could burn the pellets in a controlled area, controlling the emissions, and at least get the energy from it. But we've been ruled by laziness in this province, and it's time for that to change. And that was the point of my whole comment around being a resource colony. Let's not be proud of that. Let's be proud of the refining capacity, the value-added capacity. Let's be proud of supernatural British Columbia and the resources that we have. So proud, in fact, that we don't become lazy about it and that we respect those natural resources for the value that they have.
Fair enough. I mean, Dee had a few comments there. One was if we could use driftwood and we could harvest driftwood. His other comment was, can we call for a moratorium on clear-cut logging? Greens have been outspoken on old-growth logging and trying to get that changed. What are your thoughts on clear-cut and reusing wood in different ways?
So I want to talk about the... by the way, just so you know, I've got one sock and shoe on and one sock and shoe off now. Anyway, for those that were around earlier in the show, you'd know why. For those that weren't, maybe you could go back and check out why I've only got one sock and one shoe on. Anyway, let's do the beach. Let's do the what was that? That's driftwood.
Driftwood.
You know, as I'm starting to learn about beaches and how beaches work, I don't know that we want to be stripping driftwood off of our beaches. I think that they provide a natural break. I think that they're very, very important, critical, in fact, to beaches. And part of the reason why we don't want to be taking driftwood off the beach is because we have sea level rise and we've got all sorts of problems on our beaches. And stripping the beaches of driftwood is not. I don't know that that's particularly something that we should be supporting. In terms of old growth, couldn't agree more. In fact, you're right, Aldous, we are one of the only parties that said that we should stop cutting old growth. So let's stop cutting old growth.
No brainer.
As
Dee said, no brainer.
That's right.
So thanks for that.
Oh, hey, look, Emily's on.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my wife. I love you, Emily. Thank you for joining us. Hey, if you're watching this show, hit the like button a few times. If you're watching the show live or if you're watching the rebroadcast, hit the like button. Show us some love. If there's something that we said that you didn't like, let us know. Give us one of those little icons. Stick your tongue out at us or something.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to touch on there, Adam, is in this race to the bottom, this whole resource thing. Why don't we talk about LNG for a second and the race to the bottom we're seeing there?
Sure. Well, look, the only thing that I'm going to say about LNG today, Aldous, is that basically the provincial government has handed out as about an aggressive incentive package that you could ever hand out an industry. They've basically said, don't pay us.
Wait, what? They said
they've basically said, take this gas for free. That's about as aggressive. $6 billion in incentives. You don't have to pay anything in royalties until after you've paid off your capital investment.
And
it goes on and on.
And roads.
And no PST. Don't worry about paying PST. That's fine.
It's so crazy. We can ship our natural gas off.
That's right. And
quick as we can.
And the LNG company has the gall of saying, oh, and we don't want to pay duty on the steel because we're going to use cheap steel from somewhere else. We're not even going to support the Canadian steel industry. We'll wait to see if the federal government caves in on that. Although I think that probably the NAFTA negotiations that are going on right now probably stalling that decision. We don't have a final investment decision in natural gas. The BC Greens, Andrew Weaver's done a great job in critiquing the economics of the LNG industry in BC. He's nailed it, been right on so far, and so I still, even if the government says take it for free, please don't pay us. We just want this support. We just want to make it look like we're creating these jobs or whatever. I still don't think it's going to happen. Bill Burns asked a question: when does a fallen tree have enough value added? Look, Bill, I'm just going to say this to you, brother. Let's just do something more than shipping it raw. So, often Bill and I get into these discussions, into these debates where it's like he pushes for further and further, more and more and more, and that's good. I really enjoy engaging with Bill on social media. But the point that I'm trying to make here, Bill, is that this isn't about when is it enough. It's when are we going to stand up and say just shipping it as raw as possible is not good enough.
And as fast as possible.
We're liquidating natural resources. If you talk to people, Bill, in forestry communities, in fishing communities, in mining communities, they'll tell you they've never seen the level of liquidation of natural resources that we're seeing right now.
So we've heard a lot about how we're shipping it off as quick as we can, the strip it and ship mentality. We're killing jobs because we're giving our resources away. Mm-hmm. Yet people say we need it. Mm-hmm. We need jobs. We want to live here. We want to live in these towns. And what's your answer to them?
Well, I think that one of the things that we need to do is we need to say to these companies that, look, if you're going to have, there used to be a time if you were going to have access to fiber, if you're going to have access to trees, you had to provide a sawmill or pulp and paper mill. You had to take that product one or two steps further, make lumber.
Employ a certain number of people. That's right, and that was part of the deal. But what ended up happening in the mid-2000s was the provincial government said, nah, you don't have to do that anymore. Don't worry about it. And the companies then started to ship the logs elsewhere to be processed in mills that they already owned elsewhere. So I would say that, look, we've been focusing on wild salmon. The wild salmon industries will create jobs in a number of different industries, whether it be commercial fishing, sport fishing, habitat restoration, tourism. There's a number of different areas and industries that a wild salmon industry will create jobs in. Clearly, we cannot continue to gut rural and coastal communities. Those people, we cannot afford to have those people continue to move into southern Vancouver Island and the Lower Mainland. We have got unbelievably crazy housing prices, on a lack of affordability there right now. We've got congestion issues already there right now. So we need people in those parts of our province to keep an eye on what's going on. Part of this conspiracy of this is that, the former government's policy was to get people out of rural and coastal communities, so that then we didn't see what was going on in our resource towns. I want people. I want to encourage those communities. I want to connect technology and clean tech technologies with those resource communities to increase them. That was Andrew's point in his question on Tuesday, and the whole most important part of this isn't. And let's switch to this now, because I want to be positive. Yeah.
It's time to get positive here, because we have an opportunity like none other. Andrew Weaver talks about it all the time. We've got unbelievable amounts of natural resources for us to look after, to create a sustainable long-term economy. We've got unbelievable innovative capacity. I was just having a meeting at the University of Victoria. Unbelievable work being done in our universities, tech, clean tech companies, innovators, entrepreneurs, change makers, people who want to invest in this province. And right now we've got government policy that's just slamming the door in their face. We don't need to. We could choose not to be laggards. We could choose to lead.
So on the one hand, we've got government policy right now that's trying to give away our resources as fast as we can to those big multinational companies, gutting our towns. On the other hand, it's slamming the door in the face of the emerging economy, the people who want to change things, do things differently. And this gets exactly to the question that Heather Tufts just talked about, is value added is great, but there's bigger concerns, like climate change.
That's right. So
absolutely,
there's no question. So not only do we have to get more value out of less fiber, just as an example. We need to get more value out of less salmon, and that's by taking pride in continuing to refine a piece of. So when Bill asked the question earlier, how much refining is enough for you? I'd say to Bill, keep refining it, keep making amazing things out of our raw materials. Keep giving it to creative people. Keep giving raw materials to amazingly innovative people, and they will make amazingly innovative products over and over and over again. So let's not sell ourselves short. Let's go long on this.
And if we're going to invest in certain industries...
let's get to Heather Tufts. Sorry, I didn't mean to go up.
Yeah.
We have a climate change issue crisis going on right now, climate crisis going on right now that we have to address, which means we need trees, we need fish to be feeding the forests, we need a diverse, healthy ecosystem, and we need to be a part of that diverse, healthy ecosystem, not destroyers of that healthy ecosystem.
If we're going to invest in the resources we have with the companies that will do innovative things, we need to have that bigger picture in mind.
Correct.
How it's going to help our province, how it's going to help our people, and how it's going to help our environment.
That's right.
I think that's where you're going with
Absolutely.
That. So
he should be the MLA. See how well he summed that up? He's amazing. He's Aldous Sperl, and he is my chief of staff. Not yours, mine. Sorry.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate that.
It's been, you know what? We've been working together for 18 months now. We've been working together for a lot longer than that, but we've been like brothers for 18 months now.
It's been a long time.
We are literally 2 weeks away from our 1 year anniversary of Aldous being one of the very few campaign managers to ever elect a Green candidate, and for me being one of the very few candidates to be elected as a Green MLA. So
yeah, 10 days away.
10 days away from our 1 year anniversary.
13 days away, technically.
Good thing you can count.
Yeah, sorry. Made a mistake. So a couple things.
Yes.
We want to wrap things up, but we had a couple comments from Dee earlier about Indigenous land and title and the importance of that in the resource industry in today's world. Maybe you can touch on that. And I also want to talk, Bill, you mentioned as well there with mining, the smelter and trail, how production probably through automation has reduced employees from 4,000 to, you say, 1,500 there. And that's another problem with our economy and with our workforce is automation, and why we need to be innovative and why we need to be using these products in different ways. So maybe you can speak to the Indigenous piece here.
I'm going to speak to both. I'm going to start with Bill's comments. There's no question that every single industry, just like the Industrial Revolution, my family have a knitting business, and there was a time in which we processed sheep's wool all by hand, and then they created washing and carding machines, and in that process a whole pile of jobs were lost. There was a time when we had horse and buggies, and there were people that made whips for the drivers of the horse and buggies, and at the time those jobs, they moved on. You know, the fact of the matter is that we are now in a technological revolution, and our processing facilities are becoming more and more robust. They're becoming more and more automated, and there's going to be a whole pile of jobs, no question. Admittedly, we've been talking about this a lot, that are going to be lost to that innovation. So, in the last revolution. Economic revolutions that we've had, there's a whole pile of other jobs that were created that we never thought about. There still needs to be someone on the site and numbers of people that are programming for that. There's still got to be numbers of people in the forests, out on the ground, experiencing experiencing British Columbia and seeing with your own eyes. Certainly, some of those are going to be replaced by drones. Guaranteed, they will be. Some of them will be replaced by satellite. I don't want to pretend like it's going to be exactly like 1950. That would be insane. I'm not suggesting that. We're not suggesting that at all. What we are suggesting is that we need value added. And again, I think this is why Bill is of huge value to coming on to my Facebook, is that he challenges every single aspect of every single comment that I've ever made, and I do my best to try to respond in every single way, because the way Bill and we interact makes it better. It makes me think. It makes us think. So I really appreciate that. And we don't just need engineers in Victoria or in Vancouver. We need engineers in every part of our province. There's manufacturing capacity. We need to create these businesses elsewhere. I'm not going to let that get in the way of the fact that we need to add value. Now, we have a massive, massive, massive challenge when it comes to actually, no. Let's back that up. We have a massive opportunity when it comes to Aboriginal Indigenous reconciliation. Never before has Canada or British Columbia engaged Indigenous people in the positive way that we are engaging them now. There's not anything bad that's going to come of that. Only really amazing things are going to come of us engaging Indigenous people in a way that we always should have been. I'm an example of that. I grew up with a foot on either side of the line. Indigenous people want to contribute. We want to be a part of it, part of this province. One of the things that we've got that we feel really bad about, and I say we, I don't want to speak for all Indigenous people in this province. I don't. I can speak for myself. One of the worst feelings that's out there is that being ignored, being put in a box on a reserve in the corner of the province, and seeing the natural resources that once sustained you, that once you built your whole that you were a part of, being trucked out at unbelievable rates. There's nothing more awful than feeling that. The final thing that I'm going to add to this is that we've come to a time when now what we need more than ever is Indigenous perspectives. The salmon, when I work on salmon policy, and I can't believe we haven't talked about salmon today. I've been talking about salmon every day for months, and I'll continue to talk about it. But when I talk about salmon policy, I don't come to it from a perspective of a commercial fisherman, or I don't come to it from the perspective of a sporty or a conservation or environmental or even as a green. I come to that conversation from the perspective of the salmon. And I don't see a lot of public policy being developed from the perspective of the thing that we're developing the policy for. I only see public policy being developed for how we can exploit the heck out of whatever it is that we're doing. So if you take a look, and one of my biggest challenges is with salmon policy is that it's split between 7 different ministries or 6 different ministries in our provincial government. One of the things that I've been saying is you can't have salmon at the center of your policy if 7 different ministries are thinking about it in the context of their transportation or their agriculture or their municipal affairs or whatever it is that is at the front of their desk, becomes at the side of their desk. So what's important for me as we build a coalition and build stakeholders who have in the past not really got along with each other and have been fighting over a limited resource is if you come to it from the perspective of, with salmon for an example, I come to it from the perspective of defending the salmon and come to it, say, let's put the salmon first. And once the salmon is plentiful, once that is healthy, once our relatives, the Saanich, the salmon, is healthy, then we can all be healthy and we can all thrive. So I think that was a very long way of saying we need to come to a time when we need to get back to a time when we start to look at our place within this web of life in a healthy ecosystem, rather than seeing ourselves as dominators and beneficiaries of the biodiversity that's around us. Because as long as we're seeing ourselves as the beneficiaries, as the owners of this, rather than as an important part of it, we're just going to destroy it.
And on that positive note, we've been going for...
Oh, no!
Going for a while now. So just a few points. I think that we want to kind of encapsulate what we've talked about today. Thank you to everyone who's
participated. We weren't
participated.
positive enough today, were we?
No, well, hey, we got a lot of engagement, and thank you to all those people, Dee and Bill and the rest of you who've asked us comments.
Heather Tufts. Good to see Heather Tufts.
If you've got a question for us that you'd like Adam to answer on one of our public dialogues, just give us an email, adam.olsen.mla@leg.bc.ca, and we'll feature it.
You want to have a meeting with us, you can give us a call. 250-655-5600 is our number. We're open Monday to Friday, 10 till 4, in the Landmark Building at the foot of Beacon in the beautiful town of Sidney by the Sea.
It is beautiful.
It is amazing place. Second to none.
So for everyone watching, this episode was about kind of where we're going as an economy, as a province, and what Adam's been saying, the BC Greens have been saying, is that we need to be leaders in today's world.
In the emerging economy. There's so much, and maybe we'll circle back around next week, depending on what happens, and talk. And go check out the videos that we've done this week, because we talked about the exciting opportunities, but it was really important for us to really pull out and lay on the table the fact that we're headed in the wrong direction. Maybe in future episodes, in fact, indefinitely in future episodes, we'll be talking about what that future direction is.
Absolutely.
Look, if you have any other topics that you want us to talk about, please do let us know in the comment section below. Tag a friend in the comment section below. Let's help grow this. We've had pretty good engagement, pretty good views, but we want to grow this community. We're going to keep doing this whether you're watching or not. That's how futile we are. But nonetheless, we're going to keep doing this. If you're watching the live show or if you're watching the rebroadcast, please engage with this. Hit the like button a few more times. Show us some love.
And on this topic, I just want to say that we are having a Kinder Morgan dialogue in our office here on May 17th, 7 p.m. You have issues about value added or about pipelines or about the project, for or against, let's come here and let's talk it out.
Let's have a full engaging conversation.
Absolutely. Also want to let you know that all our events are open to the public. We encourage your participation. You can find out more about a whole bunch of events coming up, including our first ever MLA feedback forum.
Oh, this is cool. This is cool. I know we've gone way longer than you want this to go,
yes.
But no, I'll just keep going. But this is cool. Tell them about what it is.
Okay, so for those of you watching, if you're interested in civic engagement and direct democracy and in influencing your MLA or giving good feedback on what this guy's been doing, we have an event coming up at the end of March or end of May. It's called the MLA Feedback Forum. You can find out all about it on our website. But what's really cool about it is that we're partnering with some Royal Road students who are going to just ask a bunch of questions. They're going to engage you on topics you care about, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's forestry, whether it's the resource economy. How do you think the provincial government's doing? How do you think this guy's doing? He's not going to be there.
I'm not even be there.
Well, for the beginning and the end, but not for all the so you can say whatever you want. We don't see who says it. We just get a report back at the end, and it gives him a lot of good direction what the community feels like.
This is an important opportunity for me to get some feedback. We want random people. We want people from all across the political spectrum. This isn't about packing the house full of people that love the work that we're doing. This is about how we can do the work that we're doing better, with real, honest feedback about what people are thinking. From issues all the way through to personality to how they're feeling represented by their MLA. And it's really exciting that we're working with
absolutely. The last thing I want to say is
Royal Roads University.
Royal Roads, yeah. The last thing I want to say is we've got a PlaySpeak thing up now. So if you haven't heard about it, PlaySpeak's a really cool opportunity where you can give your feedback and discussion directly to us on a number of topics. We've got agriculture, Kinder Morgan. We're going to have housing up very shortly. Encourage you to check that out. You can also find that on our website.
Yeah, I want to say I've been in the middle of the conversation. Well, not in the middle. There's a lot more people that are in the middle, more middle than me on the conversation on housing and on the Southern Gulf Islands. I want to say, folks, I'm hearing you. I feel for the situation. It's a real tough one, and we're going to be coming over to Salt Spring. We're going to be bringing our community dialogue series over there, I hope, to engage, to continue the conversation, to be a part of it, and more than just be a politician that's talking to really try to find some solutions to the challenge that's evolved over a number of decades. It's not easy, but we're dedicated. We got a lot of love for the communities on the Gulf Islands, and I definitely don't want people to think that, oh, we're good. It's not good. So
we're doing what we can, and we'll do more.
We will. So,
okay.
As we say, just before I reach up and awkwardly hit the finish button, have a great week. See you next week. Same time, same place, 4:30, Friday afternoons on Facebook. Thank you all for joining us, and until next week, Haekwa.
Haekwa.